Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I am joined here as always by my partner in crime, Sam Schneider of Primetime Sports Talk, and we are honored to have what I would consider to be the oracle of information on the Bengals, Mr. Joe Goodberry. This is a real honor to have you here. Joe, why don't you say whatever you want? Tell them where they can find your stuff and jump right
Well,
in.
thanks for having me. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, guys. I like doing different shows, so I was definitely down to do it. And yeah, I don't do anything professionally anymore. People that know who I am, I gave that up last year, and now I just like to talk and have a good time and provide analysis every once in a while on my Twitter account at Joe Goodberry, just how it sounds.
So
Yeah, and Joe is for anybody that doesn't know, and he said the oracle of information. That's actually true of Joe, but you're talking about a guy that was with Cincy Jungle, Bengals Wire for USA Today. He's a writer. He's a draft analyst. He's a dad, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're really pleased to have you on. So thank you so much for joining us.
All right.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And before we forget, Sam, tell them where they can find your stuff.
Sure, you can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You. I write for Primetime Sports Talk. You can find us at primetimesportstalk.com or online at Talk Primetime.
Perfect. And before I forget, we only ask that you subscribe and support the channel. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell if you want to be worth. Yeah. And then we don't charge you anything.
Mark.
Yeah.
Wait. Does it cost money to subscribe to the channel?
Nope. You get the max package for free. Just subscribe. That's all we ask.
Seems easy enough.
There you go. So we're previewing the game against Detroit this week.
Yeah, let's shoot the shit.
Yeah, well, obviously we're coming off of a tough loss. This is a game granted, before the season I hadn't checked the Packer game as a win, but that was one. We were one doink away from, as Chris in our comments last week put, from stealing that win. So I didn't even consider stealing it. I thought we played better, but we're going to Detroit this week. We'll do our preview like we always do. We'll start with some Bengal news, what we're feeling good about, what we're not feeling good about. We had a great piece of news just today that we took Trey Flowers off of the waiver wire from Seattle. So
that's a good one.
It's another horse in the stable, but it's almost another Eli Apple in the stable. So Joe, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that last point is the one. You're typically not going to get a lot of good guys on waivers. I think maybe the best example is getting Wallace Gilberry. I think it was week 3 or week 4 a long time ago, ended up being a really good player for the Bengals. But if you go and look, they usually claim 1 or 2 guys around this time every year, and typically it does not work out when you look at Trey Flowers' career. And I remember him coming out of college too. He's a tall guy, 6'3". He's got decent speed at that size for being that long leggy guy. I think that hurts him in man coverage, even though I think he is a better man corner than he is zone corner. Maybe that's why it didn't work out as well as it should have with the Seahawks. There's times he's been really good against the run. There are times he's been a bad tackler. He's a hit or miss kind of guy there. I feel like he doesn't find the ball as well as he probably should. And for me, I always valued that in corners. And so when I see him, I may undervalue Flowers more than somebody else would, because to me, ball skills is the difference in good corners and bad corners in today's NFL. So I think you got another Eli Apple situation. Maybe he'll be better for the Bengals. Either way, I think if the offenses look out in the field and they see Apple or Flowers, that's where the ball's going, and that's where they're going to pick on. And also what it probably means is Waynes is not coming back in 3 weeks. He was just put on IR. Right. They're probably going to say, listen, take all the time you need to get healthy. Maybe that's 8 weeks, right? We see it for the final month of the season, and hopefully we get into the playoffs and you're healthy then. But if hamstring keeps popping up, the only thing you can do is rest it, bench them, just let them sit and not rush them back.
Yeah. We talked about this in the post game wrap last week, and we discussed Waynes even was. He wasn't feeling great. He was playing off ball, which I understand he was rusty. So he was, really given a lot of cushion there. This is a depth signing. It's a depth signing.
Right.
I don't know how much more deep that really makes us. But I mean, at some point you have to face some music and just say, you know, you got Waynes is playing soft. And your backups are Eli Apple and Trey. So, you know, we're just going to have to deal with it. We're just going to have to deal with it.
You know, the thing is also, I really would like to see Darius Phillips again. You know, I feel like when we saw him the previous couple of years, when he had to play, he was fine. He can't stay healthy. He can barely practice when he's getting too much usage. And I think the coaches don't like that. Any coach in any football doesn't like when a guy can't practice or practice fully. But I still think he has the potential to be their best third guy, and he could beat out Apple and Flowers in an even competition. It's just whether or not he can be on the field for it.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. And Phillips is a ball hawk. So
yeah.
if he gets beat, he gets beat. But he also offers you that upside of snagging that pick, of going after the ball. Sometimes you don't want him to, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right. Well, you know, the good news, Phillips was a full practice today is good. And one of the things I will say about Flowers is I think he tries to make more plays on the ball than Eli Apple. Eli Apple tends to be very reactive and commits a penalty. And you're like, if you just took the time that you took to commit the penalty and just went for the ball, you probably wouldn't have gotten flagged, and you're making a football play. So I think Flowers will try to make more football plays than Eli Apple. So in that sense, he is an upgrade, but his numbers are almost identical in terms of the missed tackles, the completion rate, the quarterback rating of the quarterbacks throwing. It's almost a mirror image. So he is just a depth signing.
33 penalties over the course of career for Eli Apple, 21 for Flowers. So you're probably right on your assumption there that Apple is pretty much reactive and will not, get his hands on the ball, and ends up being a little grabby at times, a little panicky, if you will. There's one play I think of last week where he's got bracket coverage. He's covering Devontae Adams, I believe it is. And it's a play action, just like a quick skinny post. He's got safety help behind him, Eli Apple does. And it's like a man trail. So he's going to cover the guy, but follow behind him because you got help over the top. And Adams turns inside, and Apple turns and never sticks his hands off of the ball. The ball goes right by his chest, right into Adams' chest. And I'm like, dude, just put your arms up. Why are you running alert there with your arms by your side?
At the very least, flail a little bit.
Something. I mean, it's like he had no idea the ball was there.
Don't commit the penalty, but I mean, just throw him out there and just see. You never know. Your left hand knuckles might knock that ball down.
Yeah, you know what? A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
That's right.
The play that's always stuck in my head is the penalty that got the Bears their first touchdown. He took all this time, turned, recognized the ball was coming, and went and committed pass interference instead of just taking a step forward and making a play on the ball. And you're just like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
that's why
I think Eli knows who he is, and I think we know who he is too.
Yeah.
And I hate to disparage a guy, but it's not awesome. How about that?
Well, let's move on from Apple, because we seem to talk about one bad apple every single show. He seems to make our list.
Right.
But, all right. So we know Trey's going on IR, and we're all shaking our head on that. Khalid Kareem will be coming off IR. So that's a guy who showed a lot in preseason, and that'll be exciting to get him back in the stable there as for our defensive line, because they were gassed at the end of the Packer game. So
yeah, Kareem's an interesting guy because they really need that next pass rusher. I mean, they're missing Joseph Osai big time as this pass rusher. I really have concerns on the stretch if this pass rush is going to be able to hold up and make enough plays. It's really Trey Henderson, and that's it out there. That's going to make a play for you. And then Ogunjobi is a splash guy inside. You can get a little bit out of BJ Hill, but Hubbard's giving you almost nothing. Reader's really not out there in those situations. He's a good player, but he's just not out there. So I think they need to get that other defensive end, whoever it may be. And if that's Kareem, who was a little bit raw coming out of Notre Dame, I felt like he was a guy that beat his man, but didn't get the pressure of the sacks, if that makes sense. Like, his hand movement is good. He looks like a guy that can disrupt, but he's more of a chaos creator than a guy that's going to finish a play. And we'll take that right now because we're getting absolutely nothing on the other side. So hopefully he's healthy and can provide something. But, man, there's a lot hinging on if he can.
Yeah,
I agree 100%. And I think what we're missing is a cohesive unit on that side of the ball, in the front. There's a lot to be said for people that are playing together every week, practicing together every week, and knowing what each other are going to do without one person having to step up and do all that. So, if that's, you plug in a Kareem and say, well, let's see about this now. Just like that's what I thought Pasai was going to be. Plug him in. Let's see if that helps make this a more cohesive unit. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I'm willing to try whatever. The defensive line has played okay enough thus far that we're making stops and we're getting to the quarterback, even if we're not taking the quarterback down. So I'm all for, cool, put another guy in there,
Yeah.
and let's see if we can find some sort of glue.
Yeah, he had some really nice flashes in preseason. So
He did.
So hopefully he can contribute. The last thing I have, these two things are kind of intertwined. Deonta Smith may be starting, and that's because Carmen and Perrine are on the COVID list. So do we have any update? What's going on? Because it'd be nice to have Smith and Carmen available this week. So I don't know where we're at.
Deontay didn't practice today. I believe, unless I'm incorrect. I don't think he practiced.
He's not on the injury report, so.
He banged his knee and missed a couple plays on Wednesday, so it should be nothing. Callahan spoke today and said it was nothing. They had to list him as limited.
So they gave him the day off. They gave him the day off after he banged his knee. Is that right?
I don't know. He wasn't on the injury report, so I'm with I don't know if that means they give him a rest day or whatever. But I think that he's scheduled to start. And from what I was told, I don't know if this has been reported, but it was close contact situation with Perrine and Carmen. So I don't know if they're even sick. I don't even know if they tested positive, but I believe if they have 2 negative tests and no symptoms, they could be able to play on Sunday.
Right. And I actually
as long as they're vaxxed.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
If you're vaxxed, you can do the back-to-back tests within
2 negative
hours.
tests and So Deontay Smith is on the injury report. He was limited practice yesterday because of the knee bang, and he did not practice today. But
okay,
yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it right here. So, but yeah, it would be nice to have Carmen and Smith available. So,
I did like and I hate to sound like a broken record, Mark, but we've talked about this for numerous episodes. We all talk about how much we want to get Captain America back involved in this offense, or not just back involved, but just involved in any way, shape, or form. I recognize the fact that he's not out there because his blocking really needs help, in my opinion. But you got Perrine's got the issues. Mixon didn't practice, but I think that's just a veteran day off. But Zach already came out and said, look, if Perrine can't go because of the COVID thing, if Perrine can't go, then Chris Evans is going to be the main backup. And, while that's not an ideal situation, I'm not hating it because I want to see what Evans really has. I want to see him bring it in. You know what I mean? I know I have issues with his blocking, but I mean, his pass catching out of the backfield could be a really dangerous weapon for this team.
And check me, I think he's caught everything that's been thrown to him. It's only been a few balls, but I think
it's like 4. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he can catch, and he's shown some decent, breakaway speed, So, like I said, how much of a drop off could he be from Perrine and Mixon though? They haven't exactly looked like Geo back there blocking. So that's
none of them have. None of them have. I mean, it's bad. I said in the rap video, look, if you Mixon is not a good blocker, and if the other 2 guys are worse blockers, then what does that really say about them? But Joe, what do you think about that?
No, I think you guys are right. I think missing Gio has been probably the biggest, or maybe I should say the most underrated loss of this team this year. And it was self-inflicted. They wanted to get Mixon more involved. They wanted Mixon to be the lead guy. But Gio provided so much as a pass protector. I think they've given up 5 sacks charged to the running backs this year out of his 13 sacks Burrow's taken. That's a good chunk, man. That's bad.
Yeah.
So Pittman hasn't been much better. That is the thing about Evans. Not only is he inexperienced as a pass protector, he's actually inexperienced as a runner too. If you look how many times he carried at Michigan, it was less than 100 attempts. So I think he has a lot to learn overall, and I that's probably why we haven't seen him too much. P. Ryan, for what he is a solid backup, man. He'll give you 4.5 yards per carry if the blocking's there and you can mix it down. It's just they could really use some explosive runs that they're not getting. And I think Evans could provide that. And if he can't, then, man, why aren't we throwing in the running backs just a little bit more? These guys can catch. Evans can catch. I do feel like that's an underused thing in this offense.
Mixing can certainly catch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I can think of several plays this season where Mixon has been like they've clipped just his ankle or just his toes, and you've seen him pound the field because he's upset because he knows that if he kept his feet, he was looking at just green in front of him.
God, I pretty much had it.
Yeah. So
it's his running style, though. He runs so far forward, lean forward, that his weight is off balance. Yeah, he's going to truck people with that. He's going to get 2 or 3 extra yards after contact, but he's missing so many longer runs because anything can trip him up.
Right.
Sure.
So, all right. Well, you guys have any other news? I think I got most of the news in.
Well, I don't know, Joe. You?
No, I wanted to say that I am excited to see what Deontay Smith can do if he does get to start at guard, though. Carmen is coming off his worst game, was charged for 6 pressures. I do want to see Carmen develop, but if he can't play, it's better than just sticking Xavier Su'a-Filo out there, who I feel like I know who he is, even though he may be a veteran presence. I kind of want to see what Smith is also.
Yeah, we said, Sam said countless times on the show, we know what Su'a-Filo is, in terms of we know where his ceiling is, and we're hoping Carmen's is a lot higher.
He's already he's already reached it.
Yeah. So, all right, well, let's just jump into the things we're not feeling good about and the things we're feeling good about. We always start with the negative so we can end with the positive. And I'll start going into this game. This is a trap game. I'm concerned. This is an 0-5 team that's been in every single game they played. They played the Packers tough for one half, and then Aaron Rodgers, found his game. But last week, they essentially should have won the game. And then we have the Baltimore game where there should have been a delay of game called. So, this team should have 1 or 2 wins. So this is an 0-5 team, but this is not your run-of-the-mill 0-5 team. So I see this as a trap game. I'm concerned.
Yeah, I don't think I'm sorry, Joe. I'll start by saying I don't feel good about I feel good overall about our health, but I don't feel great about our health. Compared to other teams, I think we're actually looking pretty good. We haven't lost a lot of guys, for the season or anything like that. But you're talking about a quarterback that can barely talk and is on vocal rest. You're talking about guys missing practice like Darius Phillips and Quentin Spain just because they were ill. And I'm not saying that necessarily translates to Sunday because it's only Thursday right now, but I think that's a legitimate concern, the health of this team, at least for 1 week, if not for the long term.
Okay.
Think about the worst team in the league, right? We were just there a couple of years ago, right? And we're going 2-14 or whatever it was. You're in a lot of games. You're in a lot of tight games. That is the NFL. And I think the Bengals lost 7 games that were 1-score games that year. The Lions may end up with the number 1 pick, right? But they're going to win 2 or 3 games this year.
Not if Jacksonville has something to say about it.
Right. Maybe, right? But the point is those teams are going to win 2 or 3 games a year. Jacksonville's a good example because they could have easily beat the Bengals. It had a couple plays gone their way in that second half. Don't let it be you. You know what I mean? Don't let it be. This is a game that they probably think they can win. So don't let it be you that slips a little bit or has that mistake or whatever the case may be. The Bengals have had a little bit issue with putting their foot on the pedal, really stepping on the throat when they have a chance and making a play when it's there. People have pointed the finger at Taylor, and sometimes Taylor has turtled. There's been games where they haven't need to do anything. And like the Steelers second half, they never felt stressed by the Steelers. But there are other games like the Vikings game where Taylor maybe got a little too aggressive going forward in his own area. Then there's been times where it felt like they were leaning too much on the run game. Then there's times where I think last week they could have really got out on the Packers and they miss a couple deep shots. Then they throw an interception on their long drive in the second half, where Burrow's rolling out to the right. And that's not lack of being aggressive. That's the lack of capitalizing in these situations that you need to. The game is not on the line yet. They've been good in those situations until McPherson missed, but they've been good in those situations. So a lot of times the game's on the line on that random drive in the third quarter. You need to make that play to finish it. And I would like to see that. The Bengals should be scoring 30 points a game. They've been close, 27, 24, 23, 22. They need to get that other touchdown to secure these tight games.
Yeah, well, yeah, you even said before the season, Joe, that you thought year two of a quarterback of the caliber that Joe Burrow is, you should be expecting a playoff run. Yeah, and that's regardless of the fact that he missed, the last 6 games of last season. And I agree with you 100%. The only reason I was reminded of that is because you said we should be scoring 30 points a game, and I agree with you. I think this is one of those things where you got to put your foot down and say, we're not screwing around with you. We have the capability, so let's score some points.
Yeah. You know what it is too? It seems like it'll be a Jamar Chase game. Mixon's had a game. Tyler Boyd's had a game. C.J. Uzomah's had a game. There hasn't been too many games yet where 2 or 3 guys have put together a performance, and I think that has been the difference. We could really use a big T. Higgins game. We haven't had one yet. He's caught some touchdowns, but man, T, I think you're gonna have a big year. Let's start now. Let's do it this week. There's coverage issues. They've got some pass rushing issues. This is the game. If they don't put up 30, we got to start going back to the drawing board here and wondering what's going on. And they averaged 23 with Burrow last year until Burrow got hurt. They're averaging 23 right now. I mean, the offense feels like it should be better. The pieces feel better. They're just not sustaining drives and really getting the chunk plays on second down and converting on third down at the rate they probably should be. So those are the keys we should be looking for. If they start creating more chunk plays, and I don't mean these explosive 70-yard bombs to chase random. Those probably aren't going to happen again this year. They need these 20-yard throws. They need these 15-yard runs that'll sustain and make these drives go from being a 5-play, and then punt type situation to a plays. Let's get points on the board.
Well, Mark, let me throw it to you, man. Do you think that this is more a Zach Taylor thing, or do you think this is more a Brian Callahan thing?
I think this is a Zach Taylor thing.
What we're talking about.
I think it's more a Zach Taylor thing. I think he's conservative when we shouldn't be conservative, and he's aggressive when we shouldn't be aggressive, like going for it on our side of the field. And then last week, not really attacking, at least when we got a gift. Burrow threw one of the ugliest interceptions you're ever going to see in this miscommunication to start overtime. We win the coin flip, and the first play, he throws a pick. And then Mason Crosby has one of the worst shanks he had all day. He hooked that thing so far left. That was a gift. So I would have gone and attacked immediately when we got the ball back. And instead, we methodically got down and then left, a long field goal again. So I think we need to. I'm in favor of being conservative. I'm in favor of being aggressive, but we need to pick the times when we're doing it. And I don't think Zach quite has a handle on that yet. So that's just my take.
Fair enough. No, fair enough. So what else? What else are we not feeling good about?
My only other one was we tend to play down to the competition. So, it's like, we don't think we need to, put this team away. This team needs to learn how to win. That's the thing. It's a young team. And like Joe was saying, there's a killer instinct to going for the jugular and knowing how to win. That's something this team needs to learn. So, and this would be a great week to show it. As a Bengal fan, as fans, we deserve 1 week where we don't leave the game with an ulcer and have drank twice as much as we should be drinking and gray hair.
As long as I've watched it's never going to happen. I remember there was one Bears game where we came out of the tunnel with 21 points, I think.
Yeah.
And that was at least 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 9, maybe 10. But beyond that, I'm like, do we ever get a laugher?
I just it doesn't have to be a laugher.
A laugher
I would.
sometimes.
It seems like the only game we had this year where we weren't like really pulling our hair out was the Steeler game. And usually that's the one, and that's the only game where I actually felt, comfortable in the fourth quarter. I still worried because it's the Steelers and it's us, and
even still with the Steelers, you're like, nah, we're gonna find somebody to screw this up. Don't do it.
Right. No, at no point did I, you spike the ball and do the dance to start the fourth quarter, but I felt that's the game we felt the most relaxed. Every other one of these games we've been, on the edge of our seat, pulling our hair out, going, "Oh my gosh, are we going to blow this?"
Right.
So,
Joe, what worries you about Sunday?
The pass rush, and they have a big advantage. The Lions' offensive line just lost Frank Ragnow for the season. They're getting back Tyler Decker, but they're moving Penei Sewell back to the right side, where he was terrible in preseason, and I believe it was week 1. We'll have to see how that transitions. I thought he did decent at left tackle. He had a rough game last week or the week before. I can't remember which one. Either way, point is, it's really just been Trey Hendrickson. But this week, you've got matchups you like inside and potentially Hubbard versus Sewell on the right side. Yes. If they can this week, and you look at like pass rush win rate on whether it's PFF or like ESPN and things like that, the Bengals and the Lions are two of the lowest in the league.
PFF. I know you do.
Well, I like data. Any more information I can get, I will take. So I'm not big on the grades as much as I am. Let me see how many times the guy's been targeted. Let me see how many times the guy's won a one-on-one. Yeah. But so when you look at that stuff, you got to go, okay, the Bengals need to win this matchup because they have an advantage. There's not going to be too many left. The bad O-lines they faced in the first month, they outperformed the way I feel they are, in the players they have and the depth they have on defensive line. It's going to get harder for them. This may be the last game where they really have a big advantage. I think that they should have that advantage again versus the Jets coming up. Well, really, versus the Ravens, Browns, and some of the other teams are going to play. They're going to be at a disadvantage on the D-line. Now's a chance to really work on it and get it together and have a big game. And if they can't, I think it spells kind of what I'm worried of. And if they can't dominate, it's going to come back and bite them down the season.
Well, it's gonna bite Zach too.
Yeah.
These are the games that he has to capitalize on. Mark says it all the time, and I do too. You have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Yes.
And right now we're supposed to beat the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
But already the consensus, among football writers, even football fans, are kind of looking at our last couple games and they're going, well, Detroit might sneak up and win this one. And that's concerning. It should be concerning for Zach Taylor.
Yeah. Well, this is a game he has to win. He loses this game and you're going to have people really that whole fire Zach thing is going to resurface. This is a game he has to win. The Jets he has to win. And we have to, I think we have a shot with the Ravens from what I've seen. They're beatable. I'm not saying we're winning that game, but you've got to punch the Jets and the Lions and then be in the Browns and Ravens game. And both of those games are hurt. They're winnable games, but you cannot give away these.
I don't disagree with that at all, but I'll go back to what Joe said. You have one guy has a great game. This guy has the next great game. This guy has a third great game. In order to beat the Ravens, you have to get three guys to have that game.
Yeah.
In order to be there, you can't just have Mixon can't just have a great day against Baltimore and all of a sudden we're expecting to win. I don't know. That's my feeling. Why don't we switch to the good?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. My first piece on the good is Zach knows Goff. I mean, this isn't an unfamiliar quarterback to him. So I gotta hope he knows some intel in terms of how we can get after him and how we can make him uncomfortable. So that's my first good thing that I feel really good about.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll go along with that. Goff this year, I mean, I know Detroit is not a complete team in the same way that Cincinnati is not a complete team yet. Everybody needs the extra pieces. But Goff this year, he's got 7 touchdowns. He's got 3 interceptions. His rating is 91, which isn't atrocious.
Well, Sam froze. His rating's 91, which isn't atrocious, but I'm going to finish Sam's sentence while he's frozen and say Goff has a tendency of fumbling the ball. If we can get out there, we can knock that baby out of his hands.
And he'll hold the ball too.
Yeah.
So you froze on us, so we picked up and finished your sentence for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I don't know where I froze, but Goff has got 7 TDs, 3 picks. He's got 1,300 yards, but they're scoring this year. They've gone from 33, 17, 17, 14, 17. So this is a 17-point team, basically. I mean, the 33 was an aberration against, I think, San Francisco.
Yeah, well, they were down big in that game early. I think San Francisco
so
put their foot off the gas. Yeah,
it was all garbage time.
But they got a lot closer than San Francisco ever envisioned. I don't think San Francisco, because they got to within a score. They got to within where they were 8 points down, I think. So, but yeah, they seem to have like a good first half, but they're not able to finish the deal. So this is a game. Other than that, we're a better team. We should win this game. We really should.
That's what we're feeling good about.
Yeah.
Joe, what are you feeling good about?
Well, the Lions don't have a receiver that scares you. And they don't have a receiver at all. It looks like a practice squad unit that they put out there, especially they just lost their best guy, Quintez Cephas, and they really aren't putting anyone out there. So really, if we're worried about, we started the show with Apple and
out on Sunday.
I believe he just had surgery. I think he's out for the year now.
They lost their best receiver.
Yeah. And so Apple Flowers, started the show with that. Maybe it won't be an issue this week. I also think the Bengals, if we have a weakness on offense, it's the O-line still, right? Even though they're improved, it still can be an issue. I don't think the Lions have a dominant pass rusher or even a really good pass rush at all. And so both Charles Harris can beat you. They really don't have a defensive tackle that's going to beat you, which is good because Trey Hopkins has had his issues. We could be starting a third right guard this year, a different guy. So maybe it won't be an issue. So again, some of the areas the Bengals are weak, whether it be at corner or O-line, may not have a time this week. So the team should be able to do the things that maybe sometimes we look at this offense, we say, well, Burrow can't go deep because they don't have the time. They can't get too tricky. They can't run, this kind of route because they don't have the time, whatever the case may be. Those shouldn't be issues this week. They should be able to run their entire playbook.
All right. Well, with that, let's go and jump into predictions here. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go for it.
I don't usually. I like to save my thunder for the end, but I'll go for it because I'm excited about it.
Well, the thunder comes before the lightning. So
yeah. Well, so I did our weekly picks article for Primetime Sports Talk. I'll drop that in the comments for anybody that's interested. I picked the Bengals 30-20 in this game. I think I only chose the 20 because I'm a little worried about the DBs, regardless of who is playing wide receiver for Detroit. So that concerns me a little bit. So I gave them a couple more points. I think we can absolutely put up 30 on this team. I also look at, we were talking about the D-line a lot earlier. Listen, they've allowed 14 sacks, 21 hurries on Goff, and he is absolutely susceptible to kind of getting out of his head, much like Tom Brady, where once you get in there in the backfield a couple times, you can get to him. You can get in his head completely. He's got 7 scrambles, 7 yards per. I think the defensive line harasses him. And I'm going to say this as a side note. If Sewell is on the left side and he's matched up against Hubbard, I think Hubbard is going to get in the backfield a lot this week. And I would hope that will at least somewhat, but some of the talk, Chase and Sewell, who we both, all three of us know is, in my opinion, it's a non-thing.
Right.
Chase was obviously the better guy. But a lot of Bengals fans still think we should have gone, offensive line. Jonah Williams has been great at left tackle. So, do I wish ill will on anybody? I do not. Do I really want to beat Sewell hard off the corner? I really, really do. So that's it. 30-20 Bengals.
30-20 Bengals.
I'm
Joe?
homering.
No, you're a homer this week. Joe, you want to throw yours out there? Or you want me to go?
No, I'll go. Similar score. I've got the 117. Just like you said earlier, they're a 17-point offense. I agree. And that's where I had them at. I'm also waiting for that 30-point game for the Bengals to crowd. If we're not knocking the door on 30 or getting 30 this week, man, we've got some major issues on the offense. The offense is not good this year. And it's been explosive, which they weren't last year, but they have not been good. We need them to be good and actually be good. And, you can only go so far in today's league with a decent defense that has some holes, which they do. I do think the defense will come back to earth a little bit as the season goes. But if that happens, we need the offense to become a top 12 or so unit. And it starts this week. And I think they'll give us the glimpse of what the future looks like.
I think I have us the highest scoring. I've got us at 34 because I really think that Zach's heard all the criticism about being conservative, about not keeping the foot on the gas and trying. I think he makes a concerted effort to, put up, 34 points. I think this offense does that. And I've got him at 17 with a caveat that they might get a junk one at the end. So it might be 34-24 kind of thing, but it would be a junk score. So all of us say bet the over, I guess, is what we're saying. So
I think Detroit's been specializing in the junk scores this year so far. So that's not a reach.
Well, I do think that we're going to get a couple turnovers out of Goff. I think it could be a tip ball from Hubbard. I think because he'll get those arms up and he'll do something. I think it can be a Goff fumbles the ball a lot when he tries to scramble around and buy time in the pocket. He's like Lamar Jackson. That thing's a loaf of bread in his hands, and he fumbles the ball. He'll get some of his own fumbles back, but he puts the ball on the ground way too much for my liking if I was a Lions fan. So I think we're going to get a couple this week. I think we win the turnover battle. I think this is we put up 34. So that's my prediction.
Nice. I like it.
All right. Well, with that, Sam and I will be back with a recap right after the game on Sunday. I want to thank Joe. It was great having you. Anytime you want to join us, you just let us know. We absolutely love having you. You can find Joe on Twitter, me on Twitter, and Sam on Twitter. And Sam, tell them where they can find your articles.
Sure, you can find me at Talk Primetime or on primetimesportstalk.com. Mark is at LA Bengals fan on all of the platforms. And you can find Joe Goodberry, that's the way it sounds, at Joe Goodberry on Twitter. And very, very thankful for you coming on, Joe.
All right.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was a good time.
It's 5 p.m. my time, so I'm drinking vitamin water. You guys have better drinks. So why don't we hold them up and toast everybody? We got a Moscow Mule. We got whatever liquid Sam's got there. So we're going to say hoo-day, everybody.
I'll never say it.
Hoo-day. Catch you after the game. Take care, everybody.